Welcome back, everybody.
I'm still here. Still with the bees. I was telling Guude what I'm actually trying to do is not just wait for them to grow up. I'm trying to see if any other bees will come out of these hives, and they're just
Yeah,
not.
it's weird.
Somebody said, and I don't know if they were kidding or what. I want to say that they're kidding, but at the same time, I don't want to discount it because maybe it's a mechanic I just don't know about. They said, I don't understand why you don't treat your bees like your other animals. Just put a fence around them. and I'm not sure. Was it a facetious comment or is it a mechanic? I don't know that they can't climb over fences.
I'm sure they can fly over fences. I'm gonna go out on a limb and say they can.
They're gonna go out on a fence and say they can or not. Okay, bees, just go do your thing. I don't know what to do with you guys. If I think you are the only 3 left, though.
So we've discussed spanking and whether or not spanking is sexual.
Yes.
And this one's not
Which
as
it can be. It depends on what spanking you're talking about, but not the spanking that we talked about.
I mean, I've definitely done some sexual spanking with adults, but yes, anyways, so this is not related to that, but it's another parenting thing, and I want to get your opinion on it. So you know, I'm pretty active with the school and do stuff at the school all the time.
And I do not suggest spanking other people's kids at the school.
Yeah, don't do it, y'all. I tried it out, didn't work out great. No. So I've always gone to all the activities, all the field trips, all that stuff. So last week was the week that my daughter was with Crystal, and the teacher. They use this program. There's several different programs the teachers use. One's called Seesaw. One's
called AA. And,
yeah, this teaches a lot of programs
to go through.
Yeah, there's one called Dojo. There's lots of different ones. But anyways, you can send messages or whatever, and I guess it's a way for the teachers to communicate without like giving you their cell phone number or something like that.
It's
anyways,
like WhatsApp for teachers.
Basically, it is. So got a video, and it was basically just like, hey, we finally got our field trip planned for this year. It's coming up, and we're going to be going to see a play. But since we're going to see a play, instead of like normal, any number of chaperones can come, we're going to limit each kid to one parent because there's only a certain number of seats. We have a certain number of tickets and blah, blah, blah. So, you know, we still want you guys to come, but only one parent per child. I was just getting rid of that stuff. Do you need some sandstone?
If you had sand, there was a couple pieces.
Oh, there's a little bit. I just put it.
I was just going to make some glass.
Right here.
That's it.
This chest.
There we go. There's lots of sand.
So I looked at the date and it fell on the week that my daughter was going to be with Crystal. And so I texted her and I was like, hey, I just saw the thing from the teacher. You're getting the permission slip home today for the field trip. Are you planning on taking off of work for the field trip? If not, then I can go. And there was other things too, like, you know, about lunch and stuff like that. So I was like, yeah, I can bring our lunch and all that stuff. Don't have to worry about that stuff. Anyways, so I didn't hear anything back for a little while. Later on that night, she says, no, I'm not going to take off of work, but I've decided that AC's going.
Okay.
So I don't know. I've talked to several people, including I saw my therapist today, and I've gotten several people's opinions on this. What do you think? Should actual parents get first dibs on school activities, or should this be a thing where
this is a tough one, especially as being a person who's not in that situation? So I'm not in, you know, a divorced, you know, to dual custody type of situation to be able to 100%, you know, relate to it, but it's in my mind, it's almost kind of like it is her week, and does that open up the right more for her to be able to have the new, you know, father figure that is in the family, you know, by marriage and such, the ability to do that,
right?
It's a tough one.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. I don't know whether or not I should be upset or not, honestly. Like, I know that if I messaged the teacher and was like, hey, that thing went home when I wasn't, wasn't my week or whatever, if there's still spots, I'd be happy to go. I know she'd probably make an exception and let me go because there's only like my daughter's the only kid that has divorced parents in the class. So like I'm sure
That's
that
surprising.
is it
How old is she?
8.
I think that's surprising. I mean,
Every year. I mean,
it
last year
sounds
there was one
surprising.
other family that was divorced in her class,
That's how many
but
people are in her class.
25. No, 23, 23.
Yeah, I don't know. Maybe I've met so many divorced people in my time.
I don't know. I mean, North Carolina really frowns on divorce for one thing.
That's true. They do make it very hard in your state to get.
Yeah, it's not an easy thing. You have to be separated for a year before you can even file. And you can file separation, but you can't divorce until separated for a year. So I don't know. I mean, we're also a religious state, so to speak. I don't know. There's a lot of things, I guess, that makes North Carolina not your average. I guess I don't know.
Yeah,
I don't know.
I don't know about that one. That one's a tough one because it is one of those situations where you do have to think that, like, if you ever get remarried, let's just hypothetically, I don't know what your thought is on that, but if you ever get remarried and you want that person to be a mother figure in your daughter's life as well, on your weeks with your daughter, or whatever your custody schedule is at that time, do you feel like, stepmom can become like loved just like real mom, and you'll be wanting to be part of that type of thing as well?
For one thing, I know Crystal would absolutely lose her fucking mind if the tables were turned.
That might be true, but leaving her thought process out of this.
Right. I also don't agree with it to the point where I would expect whoever I was with to understand that blood parents come first in these type of situations. Like that's just my philosophy on
Do,
this.
do
So
you
like
do you feel in your mind, if this does happen, if you got remarried, and this type of situation came up, you would tell your wife, like, she really does come first in her life, therefore you have to sit this one out?
absolutely.
Okay.
Absolutely.
If
Like that's
the
that's my
philosophy,
stance on
yeah,
that.
if that is the stance that you have on it, then I mean, clearly, like, it's, the stance that you have on it, that's how you would feel. I think a lot of people would not necessarily feel that rationally about it.
I mean,
Clearly, Crystal does not,
no. I mean, but
from the perspective of it being her husband, but you think that she would feel that way
I am
if the
convinced
tables were
that
turned.
that she's still very spiteful towards me. Like the way she handles interactions and stuff.
Just things you've
Um,
told me, I'm 100% certain of that. Granted, let's be completely honest, they very well could be very biased conversations. I don't know. I'm not there. I just
right.
listen to what you tell me, and I assume that you're telling me the way it really is. But I'm sure
Right.
there's a hint of bias no matter what, because everybody always does have a hint of bias no matter how
Sure.
unbiased they try to be.
Right.
But I do believe it does. I also feel, from what I understand, that she is very spiteful towards you in a lot of things.
Like I said, today was the day I see my therapist, and so I haven't seen her since the whole spanking thing. So I just gave her my phone. It was like, here you go, read the whole conversation. I just sat there quietly while she read the whole conversation, just so I could get her opinion on it all. As an outsider party. And I guess
Where,
since she's my therapist, maybe she also has a bit of a bias. But I
where
feel
where are
like
you at, by the way? Can you sleep?
I'm in the I can go back into the nether. Hold on. I'm in the Mesa biome. Oh, there's a bed here. I can't sleep. I want to get stuff from the Mesa. Uh, so I guess my therapist maybe is biased because I mean I'm paying her and all that sort of stuff. But I mean there has been times where like she doesn't like hold back. She's like, I think you might be wrong here, or whatever. So she read all of that, and I also got her opinion on this too. And she also has kids from a previous marriage and stuff, and her perspective on all of this is the same as mine, that really like biological parents should come first in these situations, if they're able to, and like if I wasn't able, then it would make sense that he would go or whatever. But since I'm able to go and want to go, like it makes more sense that I'm the one that would go. And my daughter came over here this weekend, even though it wasn't my weekend. We have been trading some weekends and stuff for like, so we're doing better in terms of like doing logical things like, hey, there's this thing happening that my grandma wants my daughter to be
This
at the
fucking bee's
church.
taking damage out in the water again.
uh so like, and like, for instance, like, it's Crystal's birthday coming up, and like I'm letting my daughter go over there that day or whatever, even though it's on my weekend. But anyways, I don't remember what I was saying here.
Doing better about trading weekends.
Yeah, but that wasn't the point. um she was
Aha. Hi.
she was over here this weekend right after this was all decided, and it was the first time I'd seen my daughter since that. And she's like, I got a field trip next week. And I'm like, I know, I heard. And she's like, you're going, right? And I'm like, oh, your mom didn't talk to you about it? And she's like, no, she didn't. And I was like, oh, well, I can't go. And she's like, what do you mean you can't go? And I was like, well, since it's a play y'all are going to, there's only a certain number of seats. So only one parent can go with you. And she's like, oh, mommy's going? And I'm like, no, mommy's not going either. And she's like, then who's going? And she was like really confused about this. And I was like, oh, AC's going. And she's like, what? And so like my daughter wasn't like super keen on the idea either. So I don't know.
Yeah, that's weird that she wouldn't have the conversation with her.
No, I 100. I mean, maybe I'm just wrong. Maybe I'm reading it wrong, but I 1,000% believe that this decision was made out of spite. Like, I had this opportunity to fuck you out of doing a thing with your daughter, and I'm going to take every opportunity I can to do that.
I don't doubt what you're saying being true.
So, anyways, I was just curious what you thought. Like I said, I've gotten so far. You're the only person that said, maybe it's her week.
Yeah,
maybe.
and it's just I think there's more involved in my opinion than just it being the parents, because he kind of is now a parent figure.
I mean, he's definitely got a belt.
Yeah, and I know many people who've step parents have been like their real parents to them.
Right.
Even when they had a happy family on both sides of the family. Like, I've known the ones that the stepdad was the only one, or stepdad or mom was the only one in the picture. So therefore that was they became the real parents, quote unquote. But I've also known ones that was, no, I have two families, but I very much love both of my families. The stepmom and the stepdad just, as much. They're all great people, type of deal. So there's that part of it as well. But
I mean, from Crystal's perspective, the moment she met him, before they were even married, they knew each other 6 months. My daughter was instructed to call him dad. So,
yeah, that whole instruction thing. I dated many girls with children in my early 20s. I don't know why. It was a weird, I can't say phase because I wasn't trying to.
Yeah,
it just
really
happened. It happened to happen a lot. I dated a girl for like 2 years, and then like she, and then the next girl I dated had like a kid that was the same age. Like, it was weird. And at one point, like, in the relationship got serious. It was, what do you think if they called you dad? I'm like, no, it's not appropriate, like, at least not right now in this stage of our relationship. No, thank you. Like, I wouldn't even want that, and I would only want that ever if the child wanted to.
Right. I mean, when my daughter was so young at the time, she didn't even question it, right? Like, she's 3 or 4, so like to her, I mean, she was 4. Yeah, she was 4. So like to her, like, this isn't like, she doesn't know, like me growing up. I guess when my mom met her first husband after my dad when I was 5. But I was never told to call him anything but his first name. And so that's all I ever did call him. So like, I can't even imagine calling him dad, like, gross.
Ew, gross.
Yeah, I mean, he's a piece of shit. So like that doesn't help the fact.
I wonder where Soccer went. He was just here on the island with us, and then he like disappeared.
I guess he had somewhere to be. So yeah, I don't know. I don't think this is that big of a deal. Like, it bothers me that I'm being excluded from something, and I know that if the tables were turned, that someone else would not be as accepting of it if it was her that was being excluded from something. But I'm just not going to make a big deal of it. I didn't even respond to her whenever she said, like, he's going. I just let it go.
Yeah, so
Um,
I will say that I do think it's bullshit in general of if you're asking because you want to go, and after the fact you're kind of being told like, no, I like you said what she said. I decided that he is going. Is that what she
right.
said?
Yeah.
Which is that's
Yeah.
a shitty way of saying it, as opposed to oh, since it was since we had her this week, I thought that AC could go. Like would be a
Right.
completely different approach than I've decided that you know.
Right. Yeah. 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 Well, that's all. That's my whole story.
Yeah, I don't know. I wish I had better, be-
I
a better
don't like. I mean, if
understanding.
for instance, like if my daughter was like, I want him to go or something, or even if she wouldn't have like her response had not been, uh,
Yeah,
like I would feel a
that's
little bit better about it. But
right,
like
right.
to me, that means that like she wasn't even like she wasn't a part of this. Like no one got her opinion. And then that's something my therapist talked about today, not in regard to this, but in regard to the spanking. Like 'cause she read the whole conversation, so you didn't get to see how it devolved and like how Crystal basically turned to like name calling, and I kept trying to like refocus it to like we need to discuss why this is happening, and then like she's like, you're just trying to escalate the situations, what Crystal kept saying, and like my therapist was like, she's the one trying to escalate the situation. Like this doesn't make any sense.
You're
Um,
like, that's why I have a therapist.
yeah, basically. Um, but yeah, I don't remember I don't remember the rest of that sentence. I've forgotten where I was going with that. Um, but yeah, I don't know.
I hope I never have to get in this situation where shit
Oh, it's
goes
coming.
like that. Don't tell me it's coming. Hopefully not a divorce on my horizon. Oh, that would be just, I don't know. My sister deals with it,
Right.
bad enough, and it baffles me how people, especially when there's kids involved, can be so hostile toward each other at certain times, because I've seen the situations where there was hostility like that, but I've seen the situations where, like I said, the people were divorced, but both sides, they get along, they know it's for the kids, they do what they need to do, whether they like each other or not, they make it work for for the sake
Right.
of the kids and
I
all.
mean,
And
yeah, I feel like that's what I've tried to do. Like anytime that I've been asked for something outside of the norm, outside of the set schedules or anything like that, as long as it makes sense and as long as it's for my daughter, like sure, whatever. Um, like I don't know. Like I've definitely like I don't know. Like this year, the way the school calendar's fallen, like every holiday has basically fucked me because like certain holidays are set where you know, like you get Christmas this time, or whatever. Every time, whenever like there's like a holiday, like for instance, like spring break last year, spring break fell where it was Crystal's week, then it was spring break, then it was Crystal's week, and spring break fell on my week, so she got our daughter for 3 weeks straight. It was like 20
yeah, because I forgot it would.
24
Yeah, I
days
forgot that there's
basically.
a difference in the holiday split that happens.
And like this just by coincidence, I mean, it wasn't like anyone like looked ahead, and I mean, the school calendars voted on each year for one thing, so like hell, whenever we got divorced, this calendar wasn't even in anyone's thoughts. But the way it's fallen this year, every school holiday, like every teacher work day, just happens to fall on her weeks. And then like the way Christmas fell, like I got her for my normal time, and then oh no, I'm sorry. Like it basically didn't work out where I didn't get any extra time, but I lost time. Like every holiday this year just happens to work out where I lose time. Um, and then like I had to go away in November because my mom was sick, and so like I had to have Crystal watch her while I was out of town basically for weeks during that. And when I got back, I was talking to her husband, and he was like, hey, we kept her for like an extra 2 weeks there, maybe during the Christmas break, since you're losing time anyways, maybe you could have her some or whatever. And I was like, I mean, absolutely, I'd love to spend more time, as much time as possible, whatever. And she's like, oh, he was like, all right, well, I'll talk to Crystal and see what she says. And like I messaged him like later, and I was like, whatever come of that? And he's like, oh, don't worry about it. No,
It's
that's
like,
not gonna.
sorry, man.
Yeah. So yeah. But yeah, like my therapist today, like her stance on the whole spanking thing, like the way the conversation ended, like it ended with me basically like going into a movie and being like, all right, listen, I'm walking into a movie, I can't talk anymore. And then like Crystal kept texting me, and it was just like it basically was literally like name calling. And I just didn't respond after the movie because I read it and I was like, well, now she's just being petty. Like I'm just gonna ignore this. And so my therapist was like, well, it's a good thing you didn't respond, but she's like, I feel like you still need to follow up and like maybe like link them to some like parenting like help pages and stuff like that. And I'm like, yeah, that ain't gonna work at all. And she's like, well, maybe if it's coming from a source that's not you, like here's these
but
studies
it
and
is
here's
coming
these
from a source
things.
that's you still,
Right.
no
That's why I told her, I
matter.
was like, it's even though it's coming from someone like, peer reviewed documents, like it's still I'm the one that's sending them these peer reviewed
Yeah.
documents.
Well, and because Julie and I have these, we'll have petty arguments about something all the time, and we'll send each other peer reviewed articles that show our side.
Uh-huh.
You can find them for both sides. They
Right.
they like
Right.
exist.
That's
They
what I
might be
told
more
her
obscure
today
and hard to
too.
do, or more of a stretch. It's I will say it's very difficult to find published papers that say anti-vaccination is a good thing, but there's usually things that are more up in the air. You can find side things that say both sides.
Right. Right. Well, that's what I was trying to tell her today too. Like, this is a different thing, but whenever we got this bunny, um, I was like, well, the bunny. So I mean, like, I had a bunny when I was a kid, and he died. He froze to death, and so like, I didn't want to kill my daughter's bunny. So like, the moment we
So it
got this
gave him
bunny,
warmth.
yeah, so I gave him a blanket. Uh,
He's got a winter
so like,
jacket. Wears
yeah,
some little mittens.
I basically just like researched everything I could. And even like before I feed him anything, I'm like Google it. Like for instance, I thought they could eat lettuce, but like iceberg lettuce is bad for bunnies because it like doesn't have any nutrients, so it like leaches nutrients out of them. So like don't feed your bunnies iceberg lettuce, for example. So I googled a lot of shit and read as much as I could, just like give me all the bunny knowledge. Um, and so I started texting AC, and I
Bring
was
your
like,
bunny knowledge to me.
yeah. I told him, I was like, all right, the bunny needs flea treatment. And she's like,
Needs flea
no,
treatment?
they do. They need the same kind of treatment a cat gets because
I
even if they're not going outside, there's fleas outside, and like if you have dogs around us like that, they can attract them and bring them in. They should get the same kind of flea treatment that basically a cat gets.
would have never
Um,
known that.
and like they're susceptible to ear mites too. So they need to like the stuff they get for their flea treatment, I guess, covers that as well. Um, I want to sleep, but soccer's here now, ruining everything.
See, I'm not in the bed. Where's he at?
I don't know.
I'll jump in the bed. We'll see. Maybe he's in the nether. Maybe he's exploring all of the nether so we can't have a new nether.
It's all of it.
All of it.
But yeah, basically, I would link him to articles, and I'd be like, well, here's what it says, and he's like,
must not be
nah,
able
they
to.
don't need flea treatment and all this, and like he's like, my mom, has fostered rabbits for years, and here's what they need and all this. Before he even got it, he was like, all they do is eat carrots, and like the first thing I read was like, don't just feed your rabbits carrots. Carrots are treats, they're awful for their diet and all this other stuff. And so I was just like, they can't just eat carrots, you know that, right? So like, anyways, like I was giving her this example today. I was like, something as trivial as this bunny, he pushed back on everything. And then finally he took it to the vet because he said he wanted to get it neutered. And everything I read said not to neuter male rabbits unless they're going to be exposed to females because it's a life risk, basically. Like it's easy for them to die under the anesthesia and stuff. So it's not worth doing unless necessary. And they're not like cats where they spray and stuff. So anyways, everything I read said not to neuter this bunny. And so I'd even told him that. I was like, well, she said not to neuter it. And so he was like, needs to be neutered. And so anyways, he took the rabbit to the vet, and the vet literally told him every single thing that I had told him. And then they start linking me to shit like, just so you know. And I'm like, motherfucker, this is the shit I told you a long ass time ago. It just took a professional to tell you the same fucking thing that I've already read on the internet and told you to be the truth. So like I didn't say
do you were just reading this blog by this vet. And,
yeah, right. It's not the like real way. It's just the way this one person
yeah, this
thinks.
one person now it's like an opinion blog completely. It's been ridiculed by the veterinary community, but you happen to stumble across it and happen to have that vet.
So I don't know. Like I basically I told her today is I was like, I don't think that I can.
Beehive, and it happens to be in a giant fucking tree.
Well, at least we got a beehive. But I was like, yeah, if I can't share articles about bunny care and it be taken seriously. I don't think I can share articles about spanking and it being taken seriously. So I don't know,
I mean, that's probably true.
but I've gone on a long rant about
Bunny
field
care.
trips and bunny
But for all
care.
the people who are thinking about getting bunnies, they now know what not to give them and not to neuter them.
There's a lot of things like they basically need like a little salad every night. So like I'm like making little
What kind of
salads every
dressing do
night.
they like?
uh, a carrot vinaigrette.
Carrot vinaigrettes.
Yeah, he gets like one carrot and like I buy strawberries for my daughter's lunch snack boxes, and I like cut the tops off, like when I'm making her snack boxes, and so he gets to have the strawberry tops for like where the greens are at, and radish tops as well.
We got two two bees out of this beehive.
You can dye normal terracotta, right?
I don't know. Why would I know something like that?
I hope you can. Okay, yeah, just normal terracotta. Okay. I was making sure I was mining the correct thing and not just spend the whole episode like gathering something that's stuck in this color. But anyways, we're out of time, everybody. Once again, we've done it.
Well, everybody, you now know what to do with your pet rabbit. And in the next episode, we'll talk about newts and ferrets and
Tarantulas?
tarantulas. The pet
All right.
tarantula.
Gross. All right. We'll see you guys next time.
All right. See you guys.